JJ Abedili, Ingram Drive. Just wanted to welcome Commissioner Bohar to the Planning Commission. And, I take notes at kind of all the study sessions we've had for this project in the past and trying to observe any constructive points of view and opinions and whatnot that maybe ideas were missing or haven't considered. And I was reviewing my notes from the last study session, and I just wanted to confirm if, Mr. Bohar, you were the same person that spoke in opposition of the project here at the podium at the time, that you didn't understand the feasibility of the project. Were you the same person? Same James Bohar?
This is actually not an opportunity to quiz
Oh,
the
okay.
Planning Commission.
I'm
if
sorry.
you would like to raise that issue in a different manner,
Sure.
I'd be very happy to address it, but I don't believe that this is an appropriate opportunity
Oh,
to
okay,
do
I'm
that.
sorry.
But
So
that's quite all right. It's
Yeah, no.
just to let you know.
Okay, thanks. I guess then I'd like to know I'd like to have for the record that it's my understanding that our newest commissioner was at the last study session speaking in opposition of the project, and I'm looking forward to the objective application of your role tonight and going forward and working with you going forward. So, thank you very much.
My name is Carol Jansen, 300 Hatchery Lane in Sonoma, California. Although I'm a recent resident to Sonoma from Burlington, Vermont, I spent 40 years in public sector and private planning in the San Francisco Bay Area in 5 areas. 40 years, with the exception of the sabbatical I took to go back to Harvard and get my master's. I understand the issues that are before you. And I can only tell you this. I have reviewed the plans. I think it's a fine project, and I think it's one that truly fits
Through
Sonoma.
the chair,
After the video, I wanted to just give a couple of brief comments. My name is Doug Hilberman from Axia Architects. We're the architect on the project, 250 D Street in Santa Rosa. I've participated in a number of projects, and in all cases, one of the key subjects that comes up is density. It's something that we address on every project, and I think this is not a unusual condition for this project to have that discussion as well. So I think we need to start with the discussion of why here. One of the last large parcels, in this case, that's close to downtown and is walkable. The alternate is looking at moving the workforce housing and moving those amenities out to the perimeter of the town, which just increases traffic. This is also a project now where the majority of the project is 2 stories, like many of the neighbors adjacent to us. Great care has been taken in the design and the layout of the project now, and particularly paying attention to the features of the neighboring parcels. All buildings now adjacent to the residential neighbors are 2 stories or less. In addition to that, a couple of notable features. We've added a very unusual feature for this type of project. We've actually covered a key piece of the parking with an elevated courtyard to add additional foliage and add additional public space for the residents. We've also taken the effort here to move mature trees to keep pieces in the parcel so that they can be enjoyed by all and start with foliage along the frontage. And the variety of unit types and building types has increased based on your feedback. So the last question then, why an inn? The small inn provides amenities that are designed to be shared with the residents and in some cases the community at large. Without the inn, a development like this might have a treadmill, a small community room, and a small pool. In this case, though, it's the variety and the leveraging of that joint use that makes this project unique. And by taking the concierge services, the ground maintenance, the health club amenities, these are things that we're offering to the residents that makes this project desirable to Sonoma's senior population and other demographics needing that type of assistance. So to wrap up, I've been designing facilities for some time and respect when fresh ideas and functional models are brought to the table. I have a respect for the unique model Mr. Routhier is trying to create in a neighborhood for your community, and I hope you'll realize the forward thinking and the potential that this lifestyle model has to offer. Thank you.
My apologies to the commission and staff for jumping the gun. It's my first Sonoma Planning Commission meeting, so I'm not entirely sure of all of your rules. My name is Carol Jansen. I live at 300 Hatchery Lane in Sonoma, and I do have a long background in city planning in the San Francisco Bay Area. I have lived in Vermont for the last 5 years or so, okay, and recently moved here from Vermont, drove the car 4,000 miles with a dog and a cat in it, and stayed in a downtown hotel, a very pet-friendly hotel. I think it's the Best Western, so because it was close to the square. I was there for about 2.5 weeks. I have to say this about the entire project. I think that it's a fine project, but right now you're only interested in the CEQA aspects. And from my perspective, this is not a project because of the fact that it is so, as I understand it, and read it, it's less than half of the density that would normally be permissible under the zoning and so forth. It just doesn't merit an environmental impact report, okay? I think basically what that would do is simply extend the time period that, you'd all be looking at it, which may be the agenda. I think, however, having been in Sonoma now for about a year, a little less than a year and a half, I believe that there's a strong promotion of tourism in this community. Rightfully or wrongfully, that's what it is. And tourism brings money, which is important to cities all over the state of California and anywhere else in the world. And it also brings in traffic. A downtown hotel in particular has the least amount of traffic impact, or parking impact for that matter. When I stayed at the Best Western, I was there for 2.5 weeks. I parked my car when I stopped there, and I never took it out of the parking space because I could walk downtown. That's what would happen with any hotel portion of this project. The residential portion definitely will generate traffic, but that's another housing consideration that has strong City of Sonoma support. So from my perspective, it's if you need additional study under a mitigated negative declaration, that works fine. But you don't need an EIR to do a project like this. I understand the controversy on it. Nobody likes change, and this represents change. And that's just one of those things that happens when a place grows. And all of California, and certainly this area, is growing. But I think it's a fine project, and get the studies that you need to have done, but you don't need a full EIR. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jason Tarmino, and I lived on Fifth Street East for 10 years. I felt compelled to come here tonight because I feel really strongly about the people of Sonoma, and I want to support them. And I look at this project and look at the housing components, and aesthetically it looks pleasing and fine. But what's really important to me, and I have a background in some city finance, specifically in Davis for the last few years, and I wanted to talk about the TOT taxes that the hotel will generate. It used to be in California that the property taxes took care of our needs and our wants, and those days are long gone. The sales tax is incredibly important, but the TOT taxes, the fiscal analysis that feeds into the environmental impact report, they go right to the bottom line. Other communities, I know in Davis we've approved 2 hotels in the last 2 months, and a hotel a year before that. Even the hoteliers are voting to increase their TOT taxes because it goes to the bottom line. Everybody that comes to visit Sonoma, not only is the TOT taxes, but every dollar that they spend here gets spent 3 more times. And to me, that's important for the business owners and the people that work in those businesses. My life, and I think lots of lives and people in this room, are great, and they're not going to be affected negatively or positively personally by this hotel and this development. But when we look 2 and 3 generations down the road, having a vibrant economy so that people who can have good jobs here, every dollar that's spent in a bar, a restaurant, a shop, that owner and that employee gets to go spend it again, and it gets spent again and again and again. And I think that if we all came together as a community and said, hey, let's take our own personal feelings out of this and concentrate on the next generation and the generation after that, what would be great for them, even though our views may change and it may look different than it did yesterday, I think from the standpoint of the next generation will be a better community for that. Thank you very much.
Good evening. I'm Pete Weed. I live at 195 Guadalupe Drive.
I don't know if the site plan and photograph of the surrounding neighborhood is available to be projected on the screen, but I wanted to focus on the northern boundary of the property. The existing residential communities surrounding this property to the north, thank you, have generous setbacks from the property line, utilizing driveways, single-story carports, and generous landscaped areas. In addition, many of the residences are offset 45 degrees from a north-south angle and provide for a wider setback from the property. So that in addition to whatever density, use, height considerations the Planning Commission wishes to take, I'd like to focus the Commission's attention and hope on this aspect of the property and hope that the two-story residential properties on the north and east sides of the property, of the subject property, also be offset or also are sited in such a way as to be compatible with the surrounding residential development. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Chris Ryder. I live at 985 Friar Creek in Sonoma. While I don't live in the neighborhood that's in question, I do have kids that play in the ball fields up there, so I feel like I do have some degree of understanding what's going on in that neighborhood. In the southern part of the city, though, I would say we also have examples of development going in, obviously with the affordable housing project that's scheduled to begin on Broadway here soon. There's all sorts of elements of this city that are changing. I can look around the city and see all sorts of elements of our zoning has failed. It's a hodgepodge of different projects, every neighborhood you look at in the city. East MacArthur, that Ledson development went in, it's high density. You look at the setback that they are from the roads and how many people and traffic that's added to that sector of our city. Change is just happening. And while I sympathize and empathize with the residents of this neighborhood, I feel spending enough time in that neighborhood with my kids on those ball fields, attending events at the Benard Center, that it would be an increase to the quality of life of that area, because the aesthetics of the project, the way it's been designed, if you look at the way that setup is today on First Street East, it's not very pretty to look at. And when you look at the kids that are in that neighborhood and the opportunities for that development to increase the community aspects of that overall area, I think it would actually help. Also, from a tax perspective, I have kids that go to schools in our city, and I look at increasingly every election, we have more bonds that are being put on the ballot to help pay for things that our government typically should have taken care of. So the fact that this would bring in more needed taxes to the neighborhood, help schools, help roads, help community resources, all of that's good. And I'm certainly in favor of this project, and thank you for your time.
Hi, my name is Bastian Scholl. I live at 955 Central Avenue. I've spoken to you before on behalf of the project. I have some very simple counterpoints. I'm of working age. I've lived in Sonoma for 10 years. My wife is of working age and will be for another 10 to 15 years. I have two kids that will most likely attend schools here in Sonoma. Both of us would like to live in this project. We would like to have our kids be able to maybe ride their bikes to high school, go across the street to play ball. I think it's simply unfair to put the needs of one particular community counter to another, and to say that because our project was approved 15, 20 years ago and we live here now, no one else can live in this neighborhood. It has been clear that your struggle to approve this project is a good struggle, that you're actually looking at whether this project fits in, that the building code is a struggle, and counter to some of the arguments from the comments from earlier. There was an assertion that this should have right away been rejected because it's incompatible. I think it's good that you're studying it. I think it's beneficial to have an impact study done because it is clear that the project could fit into this location, and it should be studied further. Again, my arguments are positive tax revenue to the city. My children will go to schools here. I am a president of a local youth sports organization. We constantly struggle for fields and funding. and we get a lot of sponsorship from local businesses. And as an additional local business, I am very friendly to new businesses in town that add to both the tax base, that provide funding to the schools, and that are available to fund youth sports organizations. And I would say that I have a self-interest. I would like to live here. And as opposed to the comments, I would not sell my unit and put it up as a vacation unit. I would want to live here with my family right in the center of town in a sweet spot that, as we look, and I've made this comment before, if we look at all of these pictures around us here on the walls, if every planning commission previous to you would have made the arguments that on that field there's no buildings next to it, that's now a hotel, that's now a business, that's now a street. If that argument had been made previously, this town would still be the paddocks that we see in some of these photos around us. So I think that just simply the resistance to progress is something that you as a planning commission should resist and should have the courage to move forward with planning and with appropriate decisions for making this town grow with different elements that in this case are clearly compatible with the designated zoning of this area. I think it's also interesting that some detractors from this project now conveniently say, oh, this project was approved for this zoning incorrectly. Last but not least, we should have the courage to move forward. I just came back from Truckee. Truckee has a Parks and Rec department because the town of Truckee has been very progressive in making the right planning decisions to grow Truckee while maintaining its essential character. And I think you can make the same decision here and help Sonoma move forward with this project while maintaining its character. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Liz Edwards. I live on First Street West. I've owned my home for 3 years. I'm here tonight to protect Sonoma, and I support this project. I want to protect the Sonoma that my children love and that my family works so hard to afford to live in. This project provides affordable housing for the middle class in our community. It is increasingly difficult to find homes in the Prestwood School District, where my daughter goes to school, for young families who want the opportunity to send their children to one of the highest rated public elementary schools Sonoma has to offer. I can't help but notice that several people who have spoken out against this project tonight seem to be past their child raising years. As a mom and as a very active fundraiser for my child's school, I wish that the naysayers here tonight who claim that they protect Sonoma would show up in these kind of numbers for my Presswood fundraisers. No, but seriously, the tax revenue alone from this project that will go into the general fund is why I'm here tonight. Not every elementary school in Sonoma has active fundraisers, and I want to protect all of Sonoma. Not just the east side of Sonoma, my children's Sonoma, and the Sonoma of all of our community's children. This project packs a much-needed punch for our community. If we do not seize this opportunity as a community to allow and support housing of this density and this potency, I believe, including the inn and the cafe, right on our bike paths, walking distance to our city's center, we are missing a chance that may not come again. A chance to infill urban housing and amenities to remain a highly desirable small town to raise my children in, and yours, thus supporting our small businesses on the plaza and our surrounding areas. So I say yes to responsibly located housing along our bike path with a walking radius to the plaza, and I say yes to the tax revenue from this beautiful boutique inn. Anyway, tonight I urge my planning commission to turn their focus to responsible, smart, financially potent, urban, walkable developments like this in our city center, and to very carefully consider the tax revenue these projects will generate. Thank you.
Hi, my name is David Gordon. 2.5 years ago, I made the decision to move a software company I run to Sonoma from Santa Rosa. All of my employees have to commute because of the lack of affordable housing available here. Excuse me. So I listened to all the opposition to this project, and all I hear is me. I don't hear any facts that suggest that the commission should approve a full environmental impact report. You have staff's recommendations that there's some specific things that should be studied, and I support that, and I support this project. Thank you for your time.
Hi, my name is John Corey, and I live in Rohnert Park. I commute here to Sonoma, and Sonoma has a serious lack of affordable housing. And I'd like to move my family here, but just can't do it. And I'd just like to say I support this project.
Hi, my name is Rob Auger. I live at 2nd Street East. And I've come to several of these study sessions and planning commission meetings since the inception of this project. And I've heard a lot about affordable housing. And I myself must say that I live in a less than desirable structure on 2nd Street East because of how expensive it is to live here. And I've met several people over the years who have made comments about how much they love Sonoma. In fact, and the New York Times, right, recently came out and said that Sonoma is one of the destinations you must visit before dying on this planet. So that said, the secret's out that Sonoma is an awesome place to come enjoy with your family, no matter what age you are and where you are in your life cycle. So essentially, I think that the way to circumvent the problem you have with the housing is to give into the supply and demand needs of this community. There are simply more people who want to come here and enjoy the community and the parks and recreation and drinking wine, etc., but there aren't places to put these individuals. I personally believe, and speaking with other individuals who own multiple housing in the area, who are willing to come in here and pay top dollar for the house to be here several weekends a year, but they don't want to leave these houses unattended for 11 months out of the year. So what do? They rent them out. And when they rent them out, they must rent them out for top dollar to offset the purchase price. So by not having an inn-type facility that would allow individuals to come here and enjoy the community for a few days and then leave, they're subsequently buying up the housing stock, which is inflating the pricing point, and then turning around and renting them for obscene prices. So I think that this project solves the community's needs in two ways. It provides housing at 3 different price points, which will have condos, single-family residences, and short-term for hotel. And then secondly, where individuals want to come when they come to Sonoma is the plaza. So by allowing them to be within walking distance of what makes this community special, which is the plaza, subsequently allows for the individuals who want to own a home and allow their children to go to the community schools, they can buy in the single-family residences that surround the community. I fully support this project. I think this project is beautiful. I've heard on multiple occasions individuals making recommendations to reduce the size of the inn, increase the housing, and the particular developer has chosen to accommodate those needs. It's lost on me why individuals are this up in arms over the project still when there has been this much modification to the project since inception. Thank you.
My name is Moyes Scheiman. I'm the owner of Chris Bake Shop here in Sonoma, 720 West Napa. I've come before you on a couple of occasions for my own needs. I'm becoming part of the project as part of the coffee house, coffee shop, which is the sundries option on the bottom of your screens. I believe that change is inevitable. I believe, having been in front of this committee and in front of the Planning Commission on a number of occasions, that you all have really good concerns for the community, and eventually, whatever both of these sides come together to approve, and I believe something will be approved on this site, that it's important that something reasonable, community-minded happens. We are a small family bake shop between my wife and myself. We've been in the community 5 years on April 1st. We've employed over the 5 years probably about 75 people, all Sonomans. All of them are starter jobs. We start well above the minimum wage and move people through. We hire high school kids. We hire local people, kids that ride on bicycles to our shop. We give people chances to begin their careers in the culinary field and to make money while they're in school, whether it's community college or in high school. In this situation, it's probably about the same size as the shop we have now, 14 seats. So it's not the 32-seat cafe. but we would be employing all kinds of starter people. We would be giving a chance to the community to get jobs within. We don't worry about having to hire out of Napa or out of American Canyon or out of Santa Rosa. Nobody commutes down to this valley, let's face it. There is a problem for housing. There is a problem for affordability. I think that small family businesses like mine are able to actually give a chance for this community to grow in positive ways. And if we become part of this project, we would like to be able to have a positive impact both on the community, both economically, back into the city coffers, as well as to young people being able to get a chance to grow and learn and move on in culinary careers. That's about all I can say on the matter. But I hope that both sides find a nice middle ground through you people. Thank you very much.
Good evening, Commission. My name is Robert Rainey. Up until August of last year, I was a resident, 5-year resident of Sonoma, but I'm still a local business owner. I'm here tonight to speak in favor of this proposal, this project. In deference to having to say something about CEQA up here, I would ask that you take consideration of all parties involved and expedite that review so that a decision can be made moving forward. I would just like to briefly comment about 2 experiences in Sonoma as a business owner and as a Board of Trustee member of one of our local schools. This project is not going to solve housing in Sonoma, but it is a step in the right direction towards doing that. As a business owner, I have 1 employee among 11 who live in Sonoma, and that individual lives here because he inherited the home that he lives in. Everyone else lives outside of Sonoma. Now, on the board as a Board of Trustee member, I can tell you the school that I sit on the board of about 15 teachers, only 2 live in Sonoma. The rest come from Petaluma, Novato, Santa Rosa. So this community, if it's going to grow and if it's going to be a community, needs to address on a long-term basis housing options for our community, for our workers. Now, selfishly, the project as proposed, our business is tied to tourism. It's going to add to tourism in the valley. Our economy is tied to tourism for the most part, agriculture as well, of course, through wineries. We need to think thoughtfully about how we increase the hotel base and support good, thoughtful tourism visitor opportunity to this. Thank you, this town. Thank you for your time.
Hi. My name is Vince Bennick. I'm a local resident here on First Street West. Thanks for allowing me to speak. I'm here in favor of the project. I think that some of the things that have been said tonight, because somebody says something doesn't mean it's so. People have opinions. Sometimes opinions get intertwined with what is a real fact. You know, the fact is people are nervous that these units will become vacation rentals. Sonoma has a moratorium on vacation rentals within the city limits. So that's not possible at this time. So that's not a fact. That doesn't happen. Some people say, at the time, we said this, instead of at this time. Times are changing. We can't live on what happened 20 to 25 years ago. We have to go into the future. This project, I believe, will have a great impact on the city of Sonoma. Tourist trade, local businesses, tax revenues, employment opportunities, and we do have, despite what some people say, we do have a serious lack of homes available in this area. Now, what the prices on these homes will be depends on that, but I know people that bring in cash and spend $2 million on a home from the city. So my point is that I think this project will add significant value to the community, and I would ask that you would approve this project. And an environmental survey or study, when you talk about parking and parking on the streets, the fact that Vintage House has 4 handicap parking spots is a tragedy. That shouldn't happen. People of that age, and 72 years of age being the youngest in his group, they shouldn't have to walk a distance. So, but don't put this project on notice because of poor planning by somebody else. If somebody has a small inn and their people have to park on the street, maybe they didn't plan properly. There is a parking study on this, and you should go into detail on that with these people. If you need to talk to those people about what they did, that's a different study as it impacts the area. So, in closing, I would just like to say thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Hi, my name is Joe Diggins. I just want to say, as a father of young children, I think this project is perfect for young families to move into the city. I mean, there's a pool there, it's by the bike path, it's by the ballpark. It just really brings in families. To the Cisco report, the aesthetic part seems a no-brainer to me. The farmhouse seems way better than a cinder block unit with a taxi depot by it. It just seems shouldn't even be considered. Everything in this project seems good for the town, good for the city, good for the families that are looking for a place to live and having a hard time doing that right now. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Alicia, and I live in American Canyon, and I commute here, and I spend most of my time here because the traffic is horrible over there. And anyway, so I really would like you to consider this project and Miami Pro, because for me it's like a golden ticket. Having affordable housing here will give me and my family the opportunity to live here. And even if it's just one house, it is one that I might have the chance for. Thank you.
Good evening, commissioners. My name's Brett Andrews. I live in San Francisco. A couple years ago, at the beginning of 2015, I took the decision to move my software company, OnQ Technologies, to Sonoma. You ask, why did I take that decision? Well, I like Sonoma. I live in San Francisco. I don't work here every day. I come up here once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks. I like to come to a place where I can go out to lunch and have a good time. Santa Rosa strip malls, where we moved from, don't do it for me. So we moved here. I thought, great, we could hire people because it's a desirable place to be, to work. Well, to this day, every employee that I hired commutes as much as an hour and a half, but at least probably 45 minutes. Roanoke Park is my closest commuter. It's difficult to see a project being shot down that is housing. And housing now. We need housing in Sonoma. I don't really understand the concept of CEQA, FIR. Frankly, I'm new to these terms, but I see them as delay. And when I say delay, we need housing. We need housing now. And people talk about the prices of housing. Well, the only way to decrease the price of housing is to increase supply. So if we make it really hard to build housing, then housing prices go up because we only have a fixed stock. So at the end of the day, we need housing. As far as the hotel component of this project, frankly, that doesn't really affect me in any way, shape, or form, other than the fact I look at the beauty of Sonoma, and the only way you get tourism and tourism dollars is to have a hotel. But at the end of the day, what I want to see is housing. And I look at some comment that someone made about the third story, and I actually smiled when I saw in this picture, she said that there was no third story in this picture. Actually, I see the third story, but it's very difficult to depict. And what I'm getting at is, there is a third story, but you can't really see it from the street. So what I'm getting at again is, please, housing and housing now. Let's not delay. And if CEQA, an FIR, or whatever that is, EIR, excuse me, whatever the terms might be, if they mean delay, let's not do them. Let's approve what needs to be approved. And potentially, if that means a recommendation to split the project, whatever it might be, we need to get as much housing now as possible. Thank you very much.
Good evening, John Courier, Hatchery Lane. First of all, I'd like to thank the Planning Commission and staff for allowing us to speak on this project. I want to say right now I'm in favor of it 100%. I've reviewed this. I've lived in a lot of different communities. Being ex-military, I've traveled around a lot, and I've lived in small towns and big towns alike. I've been involved in the building industry very intimately. And I believe the applicant has done a phenomenal job at capturing the characteristics that complements the city of Sonoma. And I don't understand why people wouldn't be very prideful to have a community such as this come to their town. The gentleman before me kind of took one of my lines. I was going to say, yes, there is a 3-story building. And so we shouldn't just rip this thing up and throw it away because it's wrong. It absolutely depicts the quality and the time that they put into trying to hide elements that are of concern to staff and to the commission. On the topic of EIRs and CEQA or mitigated negative declarations, that would be up to you to make the decision. Obviously, I'd be in favor that you would make the right decision, whether it be an EIR or a mitigated neg dec, to approve this project based on whatever recommendations come from either one of those reports. So with that being said, I just want to say I'm in favor of this project. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dennis Allen. I'm with a firm called Urban One. We do consulting for real estate, infrastructure, and transit projects for public and private clients up and down the West Coast. I'm also part of a national organization called Locus, Smart Growth America, that we started a few years ago to advocate for the types of walkable, sustainable, healthy places that I think generations and the new demographics of America are desiring all around the country. And this isn't just in big cities, it's in small cities and small municipalities everywhere. I spent some time today walking around your town square and your plaza, and it's fantastic. Frankly, it's probably the envy of most municipalities around the country. It's exactly, I think, what most people are wanting and desiring nowadays in their living and visiting circumstances. You're not going to be able to stop people from coming here. They're going to want to be here. They're going to want to live here. They're going to want to visit here. They're going to want to be a part of that. So you're going to have to figure out a way to grow and accommodate that in the right way that isn't going to really do environmental damage by going out into the external areas. The problems that you're hearing and you're facing are not unique to you. I think you know that. Traffic, parking, density, utilities, noise, safety, all of those things are very common. Change is tough. But I think in order to do it right, to get a place that you can accommodate for, can be healthy, can be desirable, and to allow for a range of incomes and people to live in, you're going to have to do it in a place that's very near the walkable place that you have. And the location of this project seems like a no-brainer to do something like that. I've also worked on lots of environmental impact statements and things like that in California and other places, and this isn't the size or the scale that necessitates an EIR. I think that the process you've gone through to date is a good one, and the recommendations to just do a few further studies to pick off the things that are, have some impact but just need to go further along are the right recommendation, and you should do that, and you should get to building something that's going to be great for your community. Thanks.
Bill Jasper, 82nd East. Full disclosure, I'm an investor in this project. I would like to dispel something that was said by the speaker a couple minutes ago. I believe you have in your packet a memo addressing this so-called survey that was done by the Protect Sonoma group. We had an expert look at that in terms of proper polling, and as the memo which you have in your packet says, it's totally bogus. We checked with the registrar of voters. They have no record that anybody ever requested to purchase a voting file coming under the name of North Admission Neighborhood, First Street East Project, Protect Sonoma, nothing. Totally bogus. Second point is that this chunky monkey survey that was done violates every principle that's on the website for the Survey Monkey in terms of how it is to be conducted. If you go there, and that's again pointed out in our memo, they totally violated every rule that the monkey survey requires in order to make something valid. And the last point, in terms of the press release that they put out about that, they had the audacity and the unethical standpoint to put my public email in a press release. Talk about an invasion of privacy, an unethical approach. That group should just be disregarded completely in terms of the survey, and that is pointed out in the memo that you have. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for what you do. You guys have a tough job. My name is Brian Marcus. I first came to Sonoma Square in 1989 when I got a beer at the Wine Exchange and a sandwich at the Cheese Factory. And I laid in the lawn and I said, this is a beautiful town. I could never live here. It's way too mellow. Wine Exchange is no longer here, by the way. One of my favorite places. My point being that when I graduated from graduate school and I was traveling in Australia, I realized that this is the area that I wanted to be in. And luckily I work in Napa by bringing my taxpayer dollars over to Sonoma. I've lived in 2 places in El Verano. I've lived in Oregon Street. I've lived in Glen Ellen. I've lived on Chase Street, and now I live on Amadeo Court. Not necessarily near the project, I will admit. I appreciate everyone's opinion. I just hope everybody can get along. I honestly do. My mother-in-law lives up on Blue Wing Drive. I have a aunt and uncle-in-law that live on Guadalupe, and people have different opinions. But my point being is, since I was here in 1989, this place has completely changed, and I feel like it's going to continue to change. And if it's going to change, and there is going to be development, which is my opinion that it's going to happen, is I'd rather it be from people who have kids that are vested in this community. And I'm in support of this project. So thank you for your time.
Hi, my name is Joe Aaron. I live on 3rd Street East. I support this project, but I'm most impressed with my neighbors and the respect they have shown for the views of their fellow Sonomans. It's been actually a polite night until this gentleman disparaged my daughter's home on 5th Street West, but that's okay. We'll get over that. I sat next to a gentleman here who lives across from the hotel, and I supported the project. He had one of the signs. We didn't want to talk about the weather. I engaged him, and he made an impassioned plea for why he's against it. And I felt his pain. I feel sorry for him. You know, it's too bad. When I moved in to 3rd Street, there was a house next to me. It needs to be condemned. I've been trying to buy it for the last 11 years, unsuccessfully. Why have I been trying to buy it? Well, somebody can come in and buy that home. They can level it, and they can put up a 2-story home, and it will look right at my swimming pool, right at my bedroom, right at my backyard, and right on my back porch. It's called the law, the rule of law. They can do it. I understand that. I respect it. I know it. This project complies with the rule of law. I respectfully request that you approve it. Second thing, the survey. Absolutely bogus. They claim they got the voter registration records. I tried to get those same records for this project, and I was refused, turned down specifically by the registered of voters. They misrepresented to you. And finally, Mr. Bohar, unless I heard something wrong, you oppose this project. I don't know how you can sit there. You need to recuse yourself. I can't think of anything else I want to say other than I really appreciate your service, and I can see those halos over your head. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Jessica. I'm not currently a resident of Sonoma, but I would love to be. I think that this project opens up a huge opportunity for young families to be a larger part of the community and offering a well-rounded environment for young families to grow and future generations to expand on being a part of this community. I've been in the design industry for several years, and I think aesthetically, the applicant has done a great job with respecting the requests of those that are currently living here. And I'll just keep this short because I know it's getting late, but I just want to show my support for the project today. Thank you.
So let's just cover a couple things that are important. Santana Row, 6 stories high. That's the kind of false comparisons we keep hearing over and over again. It's really hard to take anyone seriously when they make those type of comparisons. Mixed use that we've been talking about in 1996 applies to the Petersons property. It didn't address the 2nd Street property. Let's be clear about that as well. We have taken all of the commercial off of the Petersons property, except for a very small amount that we would leave there anyway for the residents, and moved it all to 2nd Street East. So even if you want to make a decision based on some conversation that had in 1996, it doesn't apply anymore. There's almost no commercial on here. We're taking 25,000 square feet of commercial and reducing it to 14,000 of a building footprint. We're actually de-intensifying the use, not just in size of commercial, but in traffic. Traffic for commercial use is going from 35 peak trips down to 9. Yes, residential is going up, but we're making a switch from commercial traffic to residential traffic. Everybody here wants residential. We are actually taking the commercial traffic and we are reapplying it to residential. Not one person, and they've had 2 years, have come up with a traffic study of any type. They could pay for a traffic engineer. They're paying for a lawyer, but it's inconvenient to bring a traffic engineer to this because they know the numbers don't support all of the traffic concerns that they've been raising. All they talk about is their views and their feelings about how this is going to be. I'm just simply looking for truth. And I think that a residential inn in this location is a better application than Vern's Taxis and Fidelity National Title and all these other high impact uses. I'm just looking at the numbers. If I'm wrong, the traffic study that we're about to do will correct me. And if I am wrong and traffic is going up, I will pull the hotel. Okay? But it's not. We're actually simply reapplying commercial traffic to residential. That's what you all want, right? We're just using what's already there to give you more residential. I'll go on and just say one other thing. The 5th Street East project, do your homework. I didn't develop that. We built it for someone. And if you want to look at one of my projects, one of our projects, you can go look at 800 West Spain Street, and it's received a lot of kudos, especially design kudos. The other thing, Dick Peters, at the previous study session, said he had issue with the fact we only had 1-point driveway. Now we took it and we put a 2-point driveway specifically because of his concern, and a commissioner who brought it up as well. And it's not one directional, it's 2-directional, and it's oversized. It's oversized as well to allow for easier ingress and egress. We've addressed all these issues. The last thing I'll say is staff has addressed all of the zoning and general plan language issues that have brought up. They've done a great job. And they have been clear that it's just time to move on to do a partial EIR. And we support that. I think we'd like to move on without all the hijinks. And let's just get to the next step. And then let's all look at the facts. I'll be a good neighbor if I'm wrong about the traffic and it is going to significantly increase and there's any safety issues that come out of this process, I will pull the hotel. But let's just move on and focus on facts and not just all subjective potential views of what could happen. And let's let the experts guide us. That's what we're going to be paying them for, and we're going to spend a lot of time and energy on that process. I hope you'll put it forward. Thank you.